Right. So, hello everyone. It's really great to be here again. Why am I saying again? Because in 2023, I was here. I was here with my wife. My wife back then, she was pregnant, and they gave this amazing onesie back in the days to us. And as you see, my son, as well as this conference, was born in 2023. It was amazing last time. It really changed how I perceived Paris and everything. But you can hear me talk about this outside at the coffee. Before like move forward, I'm Salih. I work as a senior developer advocate at AWS. What I do is my main focus is to teach mobile and web application developers about how they can use cloud and how they can build full stack applications. And disclaimer, everything that I will be talking about is outside my like personal experiences and what I have been just tinkering around. And when you want to use it with your own projects and everything else, use it wisely, do your engineering better than I would do. So today we will cover about what do I mean when I say full stack development. We will briefly say what, why, and how. Then we will talk about how Dart falls into this equation. Then I will show you two demos. And lastly, we will talk about deploying options. And I want to demo a deployment. Hopefully, if it will work. If it doesn't work, then we will cry together. It's all right. So, full stack development. The full stack development, in the simplest term, is when one engineer can both work on backend and front-end part of the application. So normally when you build your application, when you have an idea, there are many helpful services out there, right? There's like AWS Amplify, Firebase, Supabase, AppWrite, and many more out there that I probably don't know. The goal of these services is actually make your life easier, and without even you think about it, turning you into full stack developers. But full stack development is actually a really hard concept because there are many things that you have to think about. You have to think about scalability, you have to think about security, how you define your operations through your authentication flows, authorization flows, and many more. But these services make your life easier. So in case you have used one of these services, congratulations, you're already a full stack developer. Dart on the backend, it's not a new topic actually, because as we all know, Dart has been a web language, and being on the web and also being a standalone language itself was allowing us to build applications, the server-side applications, by using Dart for a longer time period. I can't see you right now, but so I would just assume you all know, for example, Aqueduct or Angel back in the days when you were using Dart, you were able to have these frameworks to make your life easier. But they didn't get much attention. They didn't get much flexibility. So as Dart faded away in the first stage of its life, when we continued to be Flutter developer through Dart, these approaches come back to life as well. But before they came in, there were many people just like running their service really fast. We will do the same today as well because it's at the end of the day, it's a demo. But there were many aspects that we did not think about at all. First of all, like architecture planning. How much code do you want to share? How you will define the clear separation of concerns? Because at the end, you don't want a Frankenstein of a repository that would somehow looks backend, somehow looks front end, and at the end, it's half and half, basically nothing. You also have to have proper code organization and development workflow as well. You need to know how and where will you be deploying your backends, as well as you have to go through the best practices for both platforms. That's why when you go back and just run your application simply, it's not actually that simple. As you move forward, your applications turn into open up for uh, more attacks by outside and everything. And how Dart falls under this equation is a completely different scenario. We know that Dart is a performant language. It has like just-in-time and ahead-of-time compilation, helping us to flexibly go between the development speed and production speed. The memory management and the multi-threading capabilities of a Dart is helping us to properly define the single approach, headless approach of Dart applications. So you can have multi-threaded approaches that could communicate with each other on a single environment. Also, you can use the same packages in multiple platforms, have a lot of code sharing between Flutter and Dart, and backend applications as well. Also, in case you don't know it, it has a lot of support for API documentation. For example, it would automatically generate API docs. Yeah, for sure. But there are also options to do like Swagger and like many other documentation and create your own client, even out of the definitions of your backend as well. And last but not least, it's a big topic, but I think it's really important that like testing is quite important too, and you can define the test that could save both front end and backend. These are all nice and all, but you might be asking, when should I use it? First of all, in case you already have a Flutter app and you just want to dive into it, you can just dive into it and build your applications. In case you want a simpler developer experience, meaning that you don't need to change in between languages, that also makes sense. In my opinion, it is also perfect for MVPs. You can see that like you can build quite simple applications in record time. And also, if you like languages like Java or Kotlin or something, you would love Dart as well, and you could just build your backend around it. Of course, like this requires a lot of support from everywhere. Many companies like AWS, Google, and like basically many companies out there, they're building SDKs around Dart, not only for the front end part, but also on the back end side as well. Even the developer tools like, I don't know, New Relic, for example, they're building their Dart SDKs. So developer tooling requires both sides of the platform to work. Meaning here with the shelf for backend, we have like some things like shelf, server pod, and everything that are the developer tools that we have built or the community has built to make your life easier. And Dart on the backend sides getting attention through these libraries and the economical stance that they have. Also, the investment that, for example, Serverport gets and everything makes these investments from the big companies make it more interesting too. All right, enough theory and everything. I will try to show you a couple of examples. One is the shelf implementation, and first we will see how you can build a simple shelf application to first create a GET request, then WebSockets, and we will see one application with it. Then we will see the same application with one of the frameworks that I have, which is Serverpod. Serverpod has been quite vocal, and I want to get my hands dirty with it. So hopefully I can make justice to their hard work. And later on, we will deploy it if and when we have the time. I will just go to my project here. So this is an open source project. I will share the code later on. You can find it, you can play around with it, break it, whatever you want. And we have two packages here. One of them is the backend. The other one is this like serverpod emoji counter. The reason that serverpod has a different name is how serverpod creates project. I will show you in a second. For the backend part, I hope everyone can see it. All right. I mean, you're in front. Come on. Of course you can see it. I can see it. So first of all, in the backend project, when you look at it, it doesn't look much like your Flutter applications. First of all, there is this bin folder that is keeping your entry points of your application. There's the lib folder that keeps all the business logic about your application as well. You can have tests alongside having the public folder to keep your web files too. Some folders like public, they are de facto for web applications, but overall, when you create a Dart CLI application, this is exactly what you would get to run your application as well. To create a really, really basic application for backend, you would use a library called Shelf. Shelf is a package from Dart team that loves and helps you to. Let me close the email in case by accident I leak some information. And no, I won't. And what we are going to do is we are going to use Shelf and just like simply create a get endpoint to just echo the name or the query that we have. But you might be asking what else I can do. You can do many things. You can build a whole infrastructure for your backend. I heard Flutter Flow built their like backend with Dart as well, so that's pretty cool. You can do a lot of code generation with Shelf as well. It will generate your parameter. It will generate your paths and parameters for you and your uh, endpoints and everything as well. So you don't have to write all manually. All right. When you have Shelf, you have something that we call router. Router is your logic to keep the route of your web application, because when you think about the web applications, you have the paths and routes, and you go to the subroutes, and each route has a meaning. And in here we have the router, and we say the router that I have is the handler of the requests. And I define this handler by adding this as a middleware to the pipeline. Pipeline is the whole mechanism of working backend. And in the working backend, you have one handler that would handle basically incoming requests. You could define your get request and the path, but you don't have to just create your get request. You can have like patch, post, put, delete, and basically everything. In case you don't know the meaning of these, when you think about HTTP requests or REST APIs, the REST APIs go into several subcategories to make your life easier. Get is for retrieving data, post is for creating, put is for updating, and delete is, it would be fine if I said delete is for creating as well, but no, delete is for deleting. And in here, what we have is we have like the hello endpoint. I need to speed up. We have the hello endpoint, and I just pass in a variable to make an echo out of it. In the middleware, one of the really important points when you think about full stack development is the headers. With the headers, you will define what kind of data you will send and receive, as well as what kind of authorization that you would be doing as well. Would you be using tokens and many more as well? These are one thing that we always work with, but always neglect, but we shouldn't neglect these. And the login is, you can use the login mechanism of the default, or you can just define your login mechanism through the login middleware that Shelf defines for you. All right, so everything is here. What I will do next is I will go to my backend, and what I will do is I will say dart run bin hello.dart. And with the hello.dart, now you can see that we are like serving on localhost 8080. Great. Now I go to new window. I will just, you might be saying, why the new window? Why not anything else? It's the way I do. YOLO. And like if I do this thing, if I go to the hello endpoint, this will make a call as a get request, because the URL calls that you do through browser is the get request that you would normally do to fetch information. And this will say like you don't, the route doesn't exist because route was expecting for me to bring a value afterwards. And I would say Flutter, and it would say hello Flutter later on. So it goes, makes an operation, and brings everything back. All right, of course, it's not the only thing that we are going to be doing. If we go a bit like one level down, we would see that there are many aspects that we can do. One thing that we can do is, for example, WebSockets. You can have real-time update mechanism through WebSockets. We have a direct support for WebSockets that you can use. And for, let's go back here. For the WebSockets, actually behind the scenes, it uses the logic of streams. So you have many stream connections that is subscribed to the changes that you have at your deployed resource. And every time there's a new subscription or there's something pushed down to the stream, your subscribers will get the information or pass it down directly. And it works by both directions. So the goal of the WebSockets is to make your life easier through two-way communication. So what we have here is not this one here, is that let me deploy this application. Should run fin. Uh, so what I do right now is I just deployed the WebSocket approach that I have, and I'm just going to run my Flutter application. It's going to connect to the WebSocket, and we will see real-time updates on when a user gives thumbs up or like whatever emoji, they would be able to we would be able to see it real time through the presenter view. For example, I click on this one and you can see that the numbers are going up and like all the information that I have given here is just like giving me animation to go through it. All of these are piped into the stream, so it goes in the first out way. So whatever you do, they're already piped, and all the subscribers listen to it through this stream of data. So this is the shelf version of it. I will go to terminate again. Why not? The next thing that I will do is to actually show you the server pod approach. Server pod has its own way of building the applications, right? Server pod has, first of all, a protocol. Protocol is defined through YAML files. Some people like it, some not. I'm okay with it. I can live with it. And you can define the models and everything about it. You can define the fields and so on. And the good thing about this is when you define the protocol and run the server pod generate command, it generates your it generates your um, protocols, models, literally everything that you would be needing. It also generates your endpoints, so you would have access to your endpoint. And more importantly, it generates your clients as well. So whatever you would do would have a lot of generated code. Generated code is a topic that some people like, some people don't. I don't want to, because of my disclaimer, I don't want to say much. I'm okay with the generated code as long as it is fast. But when we think about the fast generated code, we bring in another topic called macros, and that breaks everyone's heart. So, all right, so I go to my like server pod emoji counter thing. Then I go to server, and if I go to my server, you can see that I have the same bin folder as well. So I can do dart run bin, not din bin. I forget the name of the file. It's the main.dart. Not dart, it's dart. So now the server pod has been initialized and we are listening to it. But what do we listen to is right now two things. Right now I have both WebSocket and the get endpoint defined, and I defined those. If I can click through two things. One is the reaction that YAML, like I told you, and the other one is the model. So you don't have to just define a protocol. Protocol will be the whole environment that you would have, but you can also define a model to go through and create your models as well. And this is just an example. And with the example, what you would have is, if I go to the endpoint, it would just say uh, hello back as well, because it is the most creative way to teach people things, you know? And I go here and I say localhost 8080 slash hello slash, I think it's example hello. Yes. Example hello. If I go here, it will ask for a parameter from me. Why is it going to ask? Is because in this file that we have here, we have fields, not the parameters, but the fields. Fields are query fields that we would define as key and not key value, but like, let's say key value, because why not? So I go here and my key here is name, and this like is Salih, and you can see that it gets the file. What it does is it gets the file and just returns it. And the good thing is, because of the headers response headers, it automatically knows that what we are returning is JSON. So you might be asking, what is the advantage of using this over something else? The biggest advantage is actually you would be able to you would be writing all of this manually while the default behavior of Serverpod or any other provider is helping you out with going with the most used and default approaches that you have. And let's see how the React WebSockets are working. Again, WebSocket logic is same as Shelf. It is using streams behind the scenes. There's a stream of data happening, and you have subscribers to the stream that is like listening to the pushback data through the stream. And if I go to my Flutter application, so they have a client, and the Flutter app client is more shareable pure Dart, and the Flutter is your application. So if I do this, we will just wait. Flutter web. All right, so I have this one here. As you can see, this is a different app because I'm not a lazy person. And I have the presenter view here and the audience view here. And if I click on like other things, like as fast as possible, you can see that I have a stream of data coming up. So all of these things are nice and all. And as you see, there are like two different ways of doing this. One is like pure Dart way, the other one is the framework way. But what I want to show you is, I want to show you how you can deploy as well. There are many ways to deploy it. And in the age of the AI, I would be upset if I didn't show you anything AI. Because again, why not? So since I work with AWS, I will show you AWS tools. It's not saying this is the best, it's the best for me. And I will show you a new tool called Amazon Q on CLI. The Q on CLI is using Sonnet 3.7 behind the scenes, and it is supposed to be your companion to build applications. And back in the days, maybe you know there was a Fig terminal. It is built on Fig, and one thing is it is free, and you don't have to have an AWS account. You can use it with something we call Builder ID. It's just a profile that you create. Anyway, so how you do it is you just write QChat. Can you see it? Not you, but like someone in the back. All right, I trust you. So you can see that it asks you everything. You can ask anything. You can say, hello, how is the weather today in Paris? If it can answer this, it will be a really interesting thing because it doesn't know like a normal LLM, but I can say, what is the capital of Paris? No, France. No one saw it coming. And it's the capital of France is Paris. In case you don't know, see LLMs work. Anyway, so in here, what I'm going to say is I am a Flutter developer. I don't know how to. Oh my God, I have 1 minute. So I will just show you this and the deployment. I will share the link later on, I guess. I don't know how deployments on backend works. Can you tell me the quickest way to deploy my Dart backend? And what is the magic word? Please. Because some people are afraid that they will take over. And not this. No. What is random? I didn't ask the question right. Dart backend on AWS. Because you can literally put it to your computer as well and share it too. Okay, the first thing that it says is like, okay, the first way to do is Elastic Beanstalk. It is the quickest for beginners. It just tells you what you should be doing, 30 seconds. And we have the app runner, which is the more simpler way of keeping Docker files. Like it just says like for Dart backend, it's best to keep it Dockerized instead of like hosting it somewhere. And it also talks about more complicated tools like Fargate. And last thing then you can say, can you implement? Please and thank you. It will just do the implementation for you. And through that, it will be put in every file that is necessary to do the Dockerization and so on. I don't want to be over time because I hate it when this happens to me. So I will just quickly wrap up. For the resources, the code, you can see it on the left. The QCLI, you can see it there. And in case you want to host your applications, which I hosted and share the link later on Amplify Hosting. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to play the game. I wanted to show you the game, but it's okay. And I will just give it 1 second for people to take a picture. And I have the survey. This is for me. It's just like given stars or not. I just want to know how it went. You can fill out the survey. Thank you very much for listening to me today. And I really, really hope that today you will have an amazing conference because I'm the low bar. You will see better speakers later on. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Lovely. And the first question is, are you aware of any services or apps that use Dart for backend?
Am I aware of what?
Services or applications that uses Dart for the backend, just in case.
I mean, the Flutter Flow is the biggest one, right? And we are lucky that we have someone from Flutter Flow as well, so you can ask him more. But besides that, I know even Dart backends Dockerized on AWS as well using App Runner. And according to the numbers that ServerPod folks said, there are more than 1,000 production apps. Let's say 100% is not correct, but still, whatever it is, I think it makes sense and it looks quite promising. So, not that I am aware of besides Flutterflow, but I'm sure there are some out there. You have to believe.
I believe.
Yes.
I trust you. Yeah. Then another one. What database do you recommend with Dart on the backend? Everything is about backend.
I mean, that's amazing. Okay. Overall, it depends on what you want. In case you are a SQL people, I personally recommend Postgres. ServerPod has direct support as well. I don't work for ServerPod, by the way. I really like how much time and effort that they put, so I just want to tell it. But Postgres database overall, it's good. It's lightweight. The community is amazing. So overall, my recommendation would be around Postgres. Also, like companies like also Supabase and so on uses Postgres behind the scenes as well, Neon and many more.
Cool.
Also
now,
AWS.
AWS related question is there any plans that AWS Lambda functions will support Dart?
I mean, so here's what I can say. There was a custom runtime that has been built a few years back, and with the custom Lambda that has been built back, it wasn't maintained. Then I talked to a colleague of mine, and we are doing some things about it. I can't give you any date or when or something like this, but we have some approaches that we follow along with Lambda's custom runtime over Dart. By we, I mean I. So
Probably, yeah, we have a lot of questions. That's really cool that we are trying to cut the time. So the last question will be from me is, how is the debugger when developing backend?
That's perfect. Overall, when you work with backend, it's one of the things that I mentioned. When you work with backend, you have to think like a backend developer. That's why you need to follow along with the best practices. So when you work with the backend, you have to know the tools that you deploy to and how they can support you on your developer tooling perspective. There are many developer tooling, and if you work with backend at all, you know that their tools are really, really advanced. And especially when you go with a Dockerized approach, what would go wrong is definitely be well explained, and you would see how it would work properly for you. So overall, yes, developer tooling is great. When you build Dart, it's just a Dart application. It's nothing fancy. So you will use Dart tools, and when you deploy, you will use the platform's developer tooling.
Yeah, I believe that's going to be it from the Q&A session part. Really appreciate your time and your commitment to the community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Another round of applause to Salih, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
My friend.